About 45 minutes in, I turned to her and I said, you know why it didn't work? And she's like, well, no one really knows. You just, and I said, well, because standing out on the floor, I said, look out on the floor. I said, there's 5 people here right now. It's like before lunch on a Tuesday morning. You got 5 people out on the showroom floor.
All staring out the window, waiting for the next hub.
No, it's even better. I said, 4 of the 5 have been watching person number 5 tie those balloons to that car's antenna. They've been out there yakking and gossiping and hanging out together as
Having
a pack
coffee,
for 45 the whole time I've been here. That's why your sale didn't work.
Sales, marketing, automotive. Jason Harris has done it all. This is the After Hours with Jason podcast. After Hours with Jason podcast is sponsored by DDS Beer Club. Beer specifically crafted for hardworking sales professionals. Find out more at ddsbeerclub.ca.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It's Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of After Hours with Jay. Tonight, I got my guest, Brent Wees, is here. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and see me, Brent. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me out.
Thank you. Hey, for the people that don't know who Brent Wees is, can you please share with everyone who is the man, Brent Wees?
I don't know if man sums it up. I'll say like immature adolescent.
Scholar?
Scholar. No, not at all. I currently am the Director of First Impressions for Next Up out of Orange County, California. We are a software company that focuses predominantly on the automotive sector. And we have our client base throughout North America, Canada, US, and as well as Australia. Prior to that, I was based working. I'm still based here in Toronto, but I was one of the partners of Dashboard, powered by Dashboard, with my good friend Barry Hillier, and we were one of the early digital-only advertising agencies in Toronto. So back in the early days of digital, we were declared insane for trying to just run a digital advertising agency, and from there we transformed the agency to a software incubator and brought in other partners like Steve Southen and created things like Glovebox CMS and Bumper and Octane and different things like that, RevUp. So it's been an interesting 20 years. Huh? Yeah, for sure, right? It's definitely been an interesting take, and I've in that time have had the good fortune of really focusing my efforts on the automotive industry, which is my broader background past my professional life and what I came out of and the way I think and everything else is definitely not I'm not your average automotive personality, I guess.
No, I don't think you typically fall into that.
However, I one of my greatest joys is actually just like hanging out with some of the dealers I've spent like a couple decades working with. Like they're really interesting people, and it's a chaotic industry, and it's got its own wrinkles and politics and everything else. So
you kind of have to love the chaos to really stay in it.
Yeah, so maybe that my background coming up is like being a fan of punk rock and coming out of that scene. Maybe that's why I like it so much, is because there's a little bit of that insanity to it while dressing itself up in a nice 3-piece suit.
Yeah, exactly, right? You in a 3-piece suit.
No, not at all.
Okay, you know what? We can dive right into
our
first topic tonight. And we were kind of talking a little bit off camera, so I think it's cool that we're going to continue to run with it. But, content, content in general, right? I think what we're doing is we're coming up to the year, that, enough's enough. We've heard it. I see more and more dealerships executing, or definitely at least attempting to execute and developing out their own dealership-specific content.
Right.
A lot of them are still not necessarily sure of which direction or what they should be saying.
Yeah.
You got some great thoughts and opinions on content, both on the vendor side and the dealer side.
Yeah, I do. It's and like you said, as we were talking earlier, 2019 is the year of content. Like,
I know, we've pretty much been saying it for the last 5 years in a row, right?
It's the year of everything.
But would you admit, though, you're seeing more people execute?
We're seeing more people execute. I think that the truest challenge, though, is with the content that is being created, it's easier. You can be faster and nimbler creating content around an individual and personal brand.
Sure.
You can ramp up fucking super fast and
It
get a
really-
lot of content. You can
Months.
you can create like a really you can create a monster of a persona on you for yourself.
Sure.
Being like a tier one, like being a manufacturer, you can doing the brand thing like a Toyota or a GM or whatever. It's easy, right?
Yes.
I know my agency friends will disagree with me, but it is like you just manufacturers just have to focus.
The
on
history's
brand.
there, the assets are there. I mean, the story's been
But
written.
so I am seeing more dealerships. So try to get out and create a content marketing strategy, which is good. Like I'm really happy for them. But I think to the ones that are still struggling, I guess it's twofold. Like you do have a very small camp of dealers and marketing teams that are working for dealers that are actually going through the steps of creating a foundational brief for what they're putting out, what kinds of channels are going to go to, what they want to do, what's the frequency, who's going to write it, building.
What's the narrative?
And those are
How
things
it.
I've taken dealers through, like we were talking just before we started about different workbook sessions I've done where it's taken them through building a content marketing strategy where it's a lot of work.
It is
right?
a lot of work.
You can't just start burping shit up onto Instagram.
Put random ads out there.
With your 30 hashtags.
Yep.
I think everything has got to be very calculated and very well thought out. However, like in knowing that, it's just in leveraging the right tools to put it out, like big team or small team. You still have to figure out a game plan, have every part of it. And I know we'll talk about this later, but everything needs to be driven by process. And social media has always been this sort of thing that you can just pick up your phone and smash something out.
Sure.
Right? Just before the podcast, I took a picture of the empty room. Right, just threw it up on my personal Instagram about tonight. Like that, it took nothing to do that. But there's no rhyme or reason about that. I'm just sharing something I've been doing because I've literally been locked in my house under this deep freeze for 4 days or whatever.
Man, it's cold. I mean, that's just beyond cold right now.
It's a dry cold.
Oh, jeez.
That being said, so you can push out really quickly to the channels. But if you're doing it because you need to support the business and support the why buys or the core foundational messages that you as a group or your leadership group at that dealership have decided on, just doing it sort of willy-nilly and throwing shit out there, it's never going to work. It's like doing video for 1 month and then not doing it. Like, what is the through line? And what we've done at Next Up, and I hope I've been doing an okay job of it, is since I came in, I've understood, because I understood it because I was a marketer on the other side. So when I came into Next Up,
Well, you understand the importance of dealing with those processes and then measuring the efforts of those processes.
So our core story that we put out into our content marketing strategy has been this. Knowing that I was on the marketing side of an agency, my job was, and I still remember Gino Coletti of Aaron Park, little shout out Aaron Park Toyota and Aaron Park Lexus. Gino Coletti told me when I first asked him when I was at their agency of record, Toyota dealers, I said to Gino, like, what is your impression? Like, what is your assumption of my role with the business?
Yeah.
And he said it quite clearly. The agency, your job is to get me the traffic to the glass, to the door of my dealership. My staff's responsibility is to give them an experience that will make them decide to do business with us, not just on this one vehicle, but through all of their vehicles for their family, to do service, to build that relationship up. That's my staff's responsibility.
Sure.
It's not mine. And that was just like, oh, thank God, right? Because, you look into dealerships and, even being at that time, not knowing anything about the car business, but knowing that, buying a car sucked.
Oh, yeah. It's right up there with having to, go to the dentist or visit your lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, for the consumer, that's just necessarily...
Consumers would probably rather go to the dentist, right? Because they put you, because it can put you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you still have to be alert to go to the dealership, unfortunately. You can't go in unconscious. I'm sure some people have. However, watching dealerships before Barry and I sold Dashboard and I moved on to Next Up, it was interesting. Next Up was such an easy pivot because at Dashboard with different products like Southern's bumper and glove box and stuff and different marketing, like, so we were taking our marketing acumen and putting them into like 4-step, 5-step standalone products, as you know, and sending them out to dealers, and the dealers that understood it off the hop right? Like, our friends that were early adopters were like, this works. Small batches.
Yep. I was one of the first ones to
Yeah,
use it.
exactly.
I was
right?
on there
Small
myself
batches,
in my
you guys
dealership,
understood
right?
it. And
Yep.
I remember still walking into a dealership at the Aaron Mills, like in Gino's Auto Mall, not Gino's store, but another store, and they had used Bumper. Bumper, like it's one of those, like it's a can't miss. You're mining your own data, like your own people that are loyal to your store. It's like it's so stupid. Like that's the brilliance of Sal, that he created something that will never fail to move people up and people ahead and leases and different things, and like it was such a good database mining tool. It still is, but
it's a good tool.
I walked into a dealership because they called me and they just said, like, we're not. I would follow up with how to go with that first sale, and it's like, we're probably not going to use it again. And I said, no, it just didn't work for us. And anytime a dealer says that, I'm like, I could understand different factors. Maybe the market's not right. Maybe interest rates aren't right. Like, there's tons of stuff we did province-wide for Toyota.
Sure.
We thought were home runs and they didn't work.
Sure.
Sometimes things that we didn't think too much of worked really well. Bumper was one of those, like, you were in your own database talking to your own people, like, and it was tracking everything they wanted to do and not wanted to do, and it was so simple, and it was down to, because of the way it tracked the response from your own audience, your own customer base. It was truly up to the staff to engage them, because the system is going, here's a person that wants, like, it's come back. Yes, I would like a 12 o'clock appointment.
Well, it's a system that came with a very defined process, and as long as they followed
the process, so this store said I sat in with this marketing director, and I felt terrible for her because she just seemed at the end of her rope, and then I knew why. Because about 45 minutes in, I turned to her and I said, "You know why it didn't work?" And she's like, "Well, no one really knows. You just And I said, "Well, because standing out on the floor, I said, look out on the floor. I said, there's 5 people here right now. It's like before lunch on a Tuesday morning, you got 5 people out on the showroom floor.
All staring out the window, waiting for the next hub.
No, it's even better. I said, 4 of the 5 have been watching person number 5 tie those balloons to that car's antenna. They've been out there yakking and gossiping and hanging out together as a pack
coffee,
for 45, the whole time I've been here. That's why your sale didn't work. No one in that group who's here right now, who's been on shift now for a couple of hours, is anyone doing follow-up to get an appointment? Like I said, we gave you people out of your own database that put up their hand and said, yes, I would like to get out of this lease and move into a newer model of my car. Yes, I will come in Saturday. Here's the time I've picked on the open calendar. They've done everything for you.
It's pretty much all there.
That staff couldn't.
So
when Clint reached out to say, do you want to work with us? Because that's truly what Next Up does, right? It's measuring all that transaction.
Well, it's the other side of the
activity.
Island,
It is. It's once they break the glass, then Next Up is just tracking and measuring that choreography that's happening in the store, whether it's really rehearsed or not.
Yeah.
Right. And that for me was like that was the aha for me, because it's like, if you've got, to your point, it's not even if you're using Next Up or not. It's just like, if you've got some semblance of process and organization and just accountability, like
a piece of paper and a pencil, for crying out loud. Just start there at least.
And I thought back too, because after that Aaron Mills Auto Mall store visit, I started going to more stores. Mm-hmm. Just that we were working with different things. And I would hang around and I would just watch the showroom floors.
Because you can learn so much from it. So, someone asked me the other day.
They were brutal. Like the amount of time people go for, like the amount of time. We have the data behind it too, but the amount of stuff people can find, and everybody's guilty of it. Oh, no, I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it.
100%.
Yes, your staff are. But if no one's holding yourself accountable, like I work out of my home studio. I could fuck off all day and do nothing. Eventually, though, like, we're gonna have a staff meeting where, like, hey, Brent, where's your stuff?
Right? I can guarantee you that the last 24 months that I've been at this has been my most productive 24 months my entire life. And go to your point, is because I have 2 assistants that literally ensure that every single minute of my day is dedicated to being on the phone with this person, being in a meeting with that person, having a group meeting with those guys, doing reviewing over the video content for next week. Right. It's just, but yeah, if something's not managing my efforts, I can sit there, I'll pull up my feed, and all of a sudden I'm 15 minutes into it and I'm gone, right?
Yeah, you can loop out. So I guess we kind of got to process it, but I guess
but I think what it is the content actually. So this is actually where I
so I guess
the
content of it.
Combines.
So when I saw what Next Step did, and I understood that they are truly a software that just helps a dealership put in a sales process to keep them really agile, keep them profitable, keep them lean with just the right amount of process and accountability.
Yes.
Right? And then gives them really great data to look at to go, okay, hey, if we pushed, we missed 8 test drives here and a bunch of manager intros, if we hit those, our closing ratios, almost double. There's different clean things, and I really like that. So I knew
it's creating a proper baseball team.
So the content story for me coming in was coming out of my background as a marketer, going, okay, there's all this traffic being driven to the store, and when the traffic shows up, be it an appointment or a walk-in, it's still that like, and you've heard me say it, they've picked you, they want to go to the prom with you, they're asking you to dance, like you're the one.
Yep.
And based on all the data, I don't know, it's like 1.4 dealerships now or something. I don't know what the 0.4 is.
It's your job just not to screw it up, pretty much.
Just don't really mess it up at this point. And as an industry, and maybe it's just like it. Maybe it's just. I think it's still a lot of old thinking. It's just still. I'm in a small market. I don't have to overthink this. I got franchise laws that protect me. I can do what the fuck I want. You know what I mean? Like, I got a captive audience. People need cars. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't know what it is. But
there's a good chunk of those that still believe that. And that's cool. Because
and there's other things, too. Because they also see this whole level of, we can't, we're afraid we're not going to find good people. So we just keep as many people on as we can because it's so much of a hassle finding people. And when we do, they leave right away. So
oh my gosh.
The
whole term bodies.
We have to find warm bodies. It's
just
like,
a warm body.
Good.
They got a pulse. Still stick them out there.
Livestock trade. But that was my line for, okay, I've got a long tail content story. And I presented that back to the guys at Next Step. I said, okay, in order for us to really be out and market the right way is we have to do it through content marketing.
Yeah.
And I said, you're not going to understand it from the get-go. But you're going to understand pieces of it. Like, you're going to understand a video testimonial with a dealer. Mm-hmm. You're going to understand a download of a case study of a dealership we've done. You're going to understand me posting a bit of a stat. But I said, it's this big marriage of all sorts of different stories, but we have to write more blogs. But I said, this isn't a once or twice a month thing that you might have been doing before or once a quarter. This is, in some semblances, an every day, several times a week thing.
100%.
But it has a starting point of the story, and it's got an end point, but you always have to keep coming back and checking, are we on message?
Well, people are constantly coming in and out of the cycle. So, I mean, to create the story, a story has a beginning and an end. You have to determine how much or how long that narrative is going to be for you. But then you still have to kind of loop back around
the whole thing, you have to bookend it. And the reason why I say that is because if you can't keep it open-ended because you do have to recycle the content.
Yeah, you're going to have to close it off at some point.
You have to evergreen it to a point. And I think for us right now, like, we now are just like, okay, keep adding things into what we've bookended. Mm-hmm. Because when we put that stuff out every day, 10% of our audience will see it every time we put it out.
Sure.
Right? And I was saying that we were in Jamaica together and I was at that event speaking to those guys. I said, you can't put a blog post out, check the box and go, okay, we're done. Like, Clint wrote a blog post 4 years ago that still gets a shit ton of traffic every time it comes back up on my, like,
sure.
When I requeue it, and I use CoSchedule for this, and CoSchedule's requeuing engine is brilliant because it takes, it's like a buzzword, but it takes the machine learning of your audience and when they're engaging your content, and it recirculates it on your behalf. So you don't have to lose hours rescheduling and reposting. Yeah. It builds out a schedule of evergreen content all the time. And it's interesting watching older stuff, and I'll have people in my company go, man, I'm seeing that product social post like a ton. And I'm like, that means you're on social media a lot.
Yeah.
Because again, it always comes back to the 10%. Like, every time something goes out, 10% of people are going to look at it, or they're going to look at it so very briefly because they're going to scroll through it.
And you wouldn't have to put it out. I mean, look, if everyone's doing it, you wouldn't have to continue to share that message. But the bottom line is they're not. So you're going to continue to share that message.
Well, and you've got to, as much as I will as much as I will sing the praises of like the guys in automotive that have like, you know, cut their teeth in the business and like, you know, self-made people and built everything up from the ground up, not handed much, you know, like the work ethic of these guys is like unbelievable, but they're also like the laziest bunch of fuckers ever, right? It's, you know what I mean? They and that's why you have to do it. It's just, and it's not just those guys; it's everybody now.
Sure.
But I found that through my 20 years is that dealers engaging content is, you know, it truly is. You got to get them in one of those quiet times when their world is not insane. When they have a quiet moment to themselves. So while I bag on them a little bit for being lazy, because those guys that are, you know, well, if you're not following up and you're spending all this time online, why aren't you using it to, you know, invest time into making the business better instead of finding the next funny video to post on your Facebook page, or you know some stupid GIF that you know, like, again, like, what are you using your time for? Because I've watched these guys like come in and, you know, because we're a software company, on our homepage there's a login to our platform that shoots over to the Next Up platform. It has to be there. Mm-hmm. Every software company has one.
Yep,
on the front page, from Adobe to Salesforce to us to you. Anybody's got a product that someone's got to log into a dashboard on.
You got to log in.
Manage your stuff. It's got to be on the front page. The amount of money I spend in AdWords every month, it's not crazy, but I spend a significant amount of money for my own clients to click that ad, a branded keyword, or Next Up being the branded keyword.
Yep.
Click that ad to go through login. I track the whole trail. Like, here's the attribution trail. And we're like, really? And I'm like, this will never stop. You don't understand. Like, our dealer group they'll type it in to, you know, even though the PMs say like bookmark it, put it here, put it somewhere on your desk.
No, we'll still lazy.
No, I'm just going to click on the ad. I had the best story about these guys is I did it one time and I'll never do it again because of this, because I spent too much money too quickly. Facebook put those in ad forms.
Yeah, the lead ads.
Yep. So we're like, all right, let's build the lead ad. Built one once. First morning, it's up. I get 3 hits. They're all clients.
Oh, jeez.
From a Facebook lead ad. One of them, I don't know if we had a comment thing in the lead ad or not, but all he wanted was support. Because his mobile app wasn't working. The mobile app for the thing. For some reason, he just couldn't. He had something buggy with his mobile app. So he, instead of going on his browser to the support page on Next Up or into the dashboard, because the reporting dashboard at this time was only on desktop, where you've got a big support, you know, right there. Like, if you need something right away, fill this out. He's not like a new user.
Yeah.
But the mobile app stopped working, so he stopped working and went on Facebook. And somewhere along his time in Facebook, he saw, oh yeah, my app's not working. I'll contact it. So I called him up. I said, let me get this straight. The mobile app stops working, so you immediately go into social media. And then eventually you go, oh, there's a Next Up ad, I'll fill it in there. So instead of doing anything really productive, you went straight to Facebook. Not because you're looking for
No. The ad just happened to come
But
up.
I said, dude, like, honestly, like, and I happen to know this dealer, like the guy.
So you give him a hard time for it.
Oh, I did. And I said, I really should ask you for it, because I had the first 3 leads that came in were all from people who were on the platform for a long time.
Yep.
All from a lead ad, and it ran me like $100 a lead. And I was like, shut that shit down. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting stuff up? And that's the challenge of being like a product or service.
Yep.
Is how much stuff like that. I think that's why I like content, is because the investment is time.
Yeah,
time and labor, right?
It's really what it is. It's more time and labor, but then, you know, the execution of it is important, but the creative is definitely there. Our goal, and one of my biggest goals, I want to just continually put this content out. The other day, my team just finally, they came to me and said, do you know how much we have? And I didn't even know, right? We're at 517 videos of you.
Right.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yet I'm still not getting the message across. The goal is that I don't want marketing and operations to be 2 separate islands, right? Mm. The content is over here in the operations. It's in those processes, right? But instead we come into the showroom and we make a funny video of us kicking a soccer ball around the showroom, right? Mm-hmm. The story, the narrative is there. but we're not sharing that narrative of this is, and the narrative, the value to the consumer is in the impressive level of process that they have.
Yeah.
But that's not where they don't
Yeah,
go to that place.
I think that's everyone's. I think that is. I think that is sort of my issue with the content I see out there from individuals, from businesses, and everything else. Is they don't understand the thing that truly engages someone, and it's been passed down to us. Like we've heard it time and time again. When you're on digital, and there's two sides of the story too. When you're on digital, it's so easy to get content up there.
Sure.
It's the fastest place to get content up. But we have to, but we were told we have to get, it's almost question and answer. Like put things out there like a question and then provide the answer for it. The content. Sure. Be educational about the content. Like help people understand either why they need it, why it's useful for them, whether or not they should, like even why you shouldn't maybe buy something from them, right? The messages from the experts has always been about educating people, and what's happened is the attention spans on these have gone way down. Our total attention span's gone way down, and the content that's out there for the most part is, I'd say, is 95% weak. It's just empty stuff. It's fluff. Like there's tons of people in our industry that spit out, from like the biggest names in the industry to the most local of guys. They are spitting out content for 2 minutes every morning, then again at lunchtime, then again in the afternoon, and they're talking the entire time and saying nothing.
Yeah, because they're just talking at the camera.
They're just talking about like, this is what I have to do today. This is how we do. We got to sell this, or
I don't know.
Or even guys like Gary. Like I watched a local guy in our province, and I watched Gary Vee just both post videos, multiple videos about the same shit. Yeah. It's like, stop scrolling through and comparing yourself to other people on social media, but watch my content on social media, so I can tell you not to compare yourself to other fucking people on social media. But that's all they say. They don't get into any sort of tactics on this is how you do it. Yeah. This is how I do it. These are things I use in my day to sort of, help me do this. And I think that is where content is kind of failing. It's the promise of value isn't there.
Well, because they don't take the time to actually give itself a narrative. I mean,
right.
I call my video team, and I have a nickname for them. I call them treasure hunters. Mm-hmm. And really, honestly, I have mad respect for them, because I don't think I could do it. I provide them 6 hours of video content a day. Yeah. Like, there's just how many meetings and just opportunities where I record, and it is literally up to them to go through and consume that and pull and find the treasure within all of it. I can't imagine it. All the other
and I think, that's
because they have a goal, they have a narrative that they're trying to share,
and that's the effort behind it.
So they're hunting for it.
And what we were talking about before we recorded is, I do appreciate what you are trying to do with the sort of micro lessons on there, but that's really where those have to truly go. Give people stuff that if they're going to digest it for 3 minutes, because once they're going to see going, hey, this is what I want you to do today. Mm-hmm. It's not a soundbite of going, like, we got to put the customer first, or we've got to, it's a logic in this. Like, it's almost like the teams have to look at it and go, watch a clip they edit, be it a dealership, be it your team, be it my team, whatever it is, and go, are we providing enough value to help someone actually truly change even one thing a day? Can they do something with it instead of just hearing someone say, because again, there's
follow up with your customers.
Well, it's that, but everyone's also become fucking self-help gurus too. Like, all of a sudden, all these people that are just these, like, driven, people who are entrepreneurs, they're not entrepreneurs, or whatever they are. But now all of a sudden, everyone now has an opinion, and they're a self-help person too. Like, half of the business stuff that's coming out is all about this, like, self-help guru bullshit. Yeah. And I have a major problem with that. Being like, me, and I'll say it on the website. Like, but again, being a guy that spent almost 25 years in the rooms of AA, I don't give a shit. I say it anyways.
No.
And Bell's Let's Talk and all that stuff is great, but like, there's also this weird sort of level of transparency that people, again, that sort of break up their content all of a sudden. Like they're doing all this content about this is how you have to be, and this is how your day's got to be set up to be successful, and this and this and this. Oh, by the way, like, my mom slapped me around for 12 years. Back to the regular scheduled content. Like they just sort of shove it in there to go, oh yeah, I have to do this because everyone's doing it. Or
shove a picture of their kid or something like that.
It's just so that they. But that's what I mean. It's like a dealership. And I know I went somewhere with like a whole 12-step thing. Yesterday was Bell Let's Talk, and I'm glad it's happening. But
did you actually watch through the hashtag Bell Let's Talk? Okay, I did. I took some time. I actually didn't post anything until much later in the day because I really wanted to think about it.
I only posted one thing about it because while I don't mind it, I take that stuff with a grain of salt because I'm glad that there's like a ground. Like it's funny that it has to be the work of some advertising agency and a monster corporation like Bell to get people talking about shit because like 100 years ago, the two guys that started Alcoholics Anonymous, that was the foundation of it. It's like the only way people get better from this is if they talk to one another and say, I have a problem with alcohol. That was 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Like those guys were Bell Let's Talk a century before Bell Let's Talk.
Exactly.
But it's funny though because we chomp onto it because very smart marketers put this in front of us and we consumed it the right way for them. And then Bell gets to rub it all over themselves. It's like, look what we're doing for mental health. And good on them. Like the money they raised yesterday, they posted the numbers today. I'm all for it. But it's just interesting because nothing is new.
No, nothing.
Their premise of talking about it is not new.
But I think what's gotten worse is that at least 100 years ago, there was a very value proposition in the content that was being put out. Now the content, I mean, I followed the hashtag a few times.
Like how many people now, like next week,
stuff just to post,
it's just a post. And I guess that's part of it because I guess when that's why I guess I was talking about bookending things and having a true story and sticking to the story.
Yes.
And not getting caught up with, there's this, like, you can have, like, and I guess that's why I have a personal Instagram channel, because that way I can just willy-nilly just post crap.
But that's your narrative. So that's okay. So
my narrative's like a drunk 6-year-old.
Yeah, but that's your personal narrative.
The next up narrative,
that's
and another channel I'm building, I'm trying to keep those narratives strictly to that. So I get it.
But that makes sense, because then I can choose on the story level the narrative that I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pushing my team and myself never to try to cross the line. I mean, I think last week I posted one picture of my daughter. I haven't posted a picture of my daughter pretty much ever, right, in the last 2 years. And even after I did, I was like, oh, should I really have done that?
I do that, and I think it's good. But I think too, it's, and I think we're all, But
you know what I mean? I'm trying to maintain that narrative, like you said, the bookends. And I try not to stray away from the narrative, but it's even hard for us.
It's hard. It's hard to, you know what I mean? Because you either get to a place where, you're looked at as someone who provides a lot of insight and thought, leadership and different things. And so then you got this onus on you going, well, if I don't post, sometimes it's an out of sight, out of mind. And you've got a business, and there's a business, like everything comes back to like, what is the business approach for it, right? Like what is the business reasoning behind it? So, you have to create content to remain relevant, to be asked to speak, so you can raise awareness for your company or your products and all this 100%. Other stuff. It's all there. So it's just this weird thing. And I guess like to roll back to that, just really thinking through your content is just because right now like I said earlier, it's like when I open up LinkedIn and it vomits all this empty stuff all over the place. It's like, that's the infuriating thing to me. It's just, and what it's making me do is it's making me engage in actively touch more content, because when I do, half the time it's just this nonsense. It's just someone's talked for an hour. Someone's talked for a minute and a half and said absolutely nothing. So if I'm a business owner or something, if someone just came out and said, here's something I want you to try today, and I'm going to give you a little execution schedule to try to roll it out. Yep. Try this one day this week, and then post up and let me know how it went. Like, that's the kind of content. I don't see a lot of that happening. And I know you're trying to do that with your stuff.
Look, sometimes we miss the mark. I will have no problem admitting sometimes we just don't.
No one's ever going to bat 1,000, right?
Yep, exactly.
And part of the experiment that you guys are doing is, let's create a lot of content, let's put it out there, and then let's look at engagement rates and what sort of commentary we're getting,
what the audience,
and then evolve it based on your peer group looking at it too. Because even like our friend Glenn Pash, like Glenn is putting out like bookending his week with videos. But Glenn's just putting that out. Like, think about this with your team this week. Think about this as being a manager. It's not just like you got to get out and grind and you got to hustle and you got to put in 18 hours and all this other bullshit. He's actually just saying, take this one piece this week.
Yep.
I'm going to try to do it this week. I want you to try to do it, and let's keep that. So there's stuff like that I appreciate, because it's actually something you can write down in a book and go, okay, I'm going to try this, get my leadership team together and go, hey, we've never done this.
It's an actionable thing.
It's an actual thing. Let's try it on our own, and then let's talk to our vendor set and see how they can help us do this if we're seeing something good from it.
Yeah, 100%.
But I just think a lot of the content that has, none of it's really truly doing that. Like, yeah, you can jump into a blog. Like, it's almost like blogs are the lost art, because you can go into a blog and get dynamite intel.
Yeah.
And no one's doing it, because who wants to read something anymore? Like,
it's unfortunate.
reading is like this lost art, like cursive, like fuck reading and fuck cursive. But it's true. Everyone's like, if I can't, like, I was using Lumen out of Vancouver for our blog post, because it's like, and I would literally put in our content strategy, okay, this blog was written, 1 week later we'll put out a Lumen 5 video on it, right? Like a 30-second hitter about the core of it. And my post would be, we all know reading's overrated, right?
Yep.
Here's your Lumen video of last week's blog.
Yep.
And so even Lumen, like I was talking to Lumen out of Vancouver like last week, they're like, it's really interesting the way you're using it. And it's like, yeah, but I have to, because I have an audience that if they have time,
well, you want to,
it's the right people in the audience,
you have to cater to the audience, right?
They'll engage it.
So when dealerships are developing out their content, they need to cater to their audience, right?
Yeah.
And they need to have a process around, just like like Next Up is great. Almost like we need like the structured process Next Up for the content side of the business as well, right?
Yeah.
Because there isn't much of a process, and with Next Up, you clearly define what your goals or objectives are, right? Yeah. And it is very, very measurable on how each one is performing, and each salesperson is handling each one of those pieces of process.
Right.
We have to take that exact same approach
and do it inside our own organization.
And do it inside of our own organization within the content that we want to develop. Yeah. The cool thing is that when that happens, now you get the marketing, all right, and the operations singing the same song. Yeah. And then this beautiful thing happens. I know like a lot of people for the longest time, that's always been, you're responsible for bringing them up to the door, and then I'm going to take care of it after that. Right. And there's some truth to that, but when I bring them to the door, that experience and the content that they've consumed is an extension when they come into the door.
Right, and that's where we've stepped in to say, in late last year, writing and presenting about how fraudulent attribution measurement can be, because, and I shouldn't say fraudulent, it's just...
No, I literally just had a video I posted on the same thing. It was a tough one.
You have to. It's great if you can watch someone, like, from the first time they engage anything that you've put out there in market, content-wise, whatever. It's badass to be able to watch someone come all the way through.
It's a cool ass report. It looks awesome,
right? And there's all this stuff you've put out there. Like, to your point, you just made that point. You've set the stage of, this is what it's going to be like when you come to Jason Toyota to buy your next Camry. You've set that stage and you've set up that expectation, and that person finally goes, "Yeah, I choose you." What we're saying about it was, last year the attribution people were all sort of squawking, like, you've got to measure every part of this, but they were never talking about the in-store. Yes. They omitted the fact that the most important, like the end of that journey, is at the store.
Yes.
And if the marketers have done their job, attribution can follow it all along, and if the marketers are driving them in, then attribution actually has something to measure, but everyone's stopping at the glass.
Yeah, the stories are unfortunately two different stories.
Yeah, and
the story that's inside the dealership is, for a lot of cases, not the story that's being shared outside the dealership. If you got 6 guys standing outside the store, like, not up here, it's too cold, but if you got 6 guys standing outside the store, nice weather, it's a nice day, waiting for ups, smoking cigarettes and looking at their phones, like, nobody likes driving up into that. No. And yet managers, like, that's the most interesting thing, is the constant in all of this is that the consumer still doesn't like buying cars. No.
Unless they've got their guy, unless they've got their dealer that they work with and they love, right? Yep. My dealer I buy from, I will never buy from anyone else, because I can literally pick up my phone and get anything done I need to get done, or into a car I need to get, like, doesn't matter.
Yep.
And I send everyone I know to them if they're near that dealership. If they live near that dealership, send everyone there. But there's a lot of people that just absolutely hate the buying experience.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter what side of the border you're on, whatever. And it seems to be the thing that, like, there's a very, very small group of dealers and dealer groups out there that go, we need, end to end, everything to be, from the Weiler groups to the Wayne's Canada's, the New Roads we were talking about, Croxton's group. Like, there are people out there that they're just trying.
Yep.
Like I said, they're not going to bat 1,000.
No.
It's not going to be perfect every day, but there are, we've got groups too, like Fletcher Jones and Larry H. Miller, like, that use our stuff, and they're driven to go, we are going to live and act out everything we put out there in the market of what this experience is going to be.
Yes.
Right? Like our friend Keenan Pyatt, Toyota of Abilene, Lithia Toyota Abilene. Right? He's part of the Lithia Auto Group, and they're a big, huge, powerful group, but still there's that Keenan's whole view of, he's got a great, big, massive group now that's helping him drive a structure and an accountability that he needs.
Sure.
Based on, hey man, you're a group. Like, you're not a you're not a shard, you're not the superstar sales store or whatever. You don't get to do whatever you want. Like, the group is now dictating how things are run from a very high corporate level.
Well,
however, though, you see a manager, not like an operator, and Keenan's just a GM. He's not the owner of that store. Well, Lithium's the store. Keenan's are GM, but man, like, they're like, and he's a small town. He's not a big market or anything like that. But there's a small chunk of people that, Nicholas, the VP over at Puente Hills Toyota down in California, like Nicholas Carden, like, there's just people that are remarkable, and like Kevin Fries and Janice, like, there's just all these people that have a vision for how that customer needs to be treated as they come through, shoulder to shoulder, as the meme says, right?
Yes. So,
and I still don't know why it is, and I think that's our biggest thing at Next Up, is that process and accountability. Is all we want to do is make sure that everything you've just said in market is going to ladder up to exactly what they're going to give at the store.
100%.
Right?
That's it. I mean, that is the formula.
Because
right?
if you do it's a done deal. Because we've even said 53.
They only go to 1.4 or 2 dealerships. I mean, come on, just don't mess it up.
A sold walk-in, like on our recent end-of-year data, a sold walk-in spends almost 2.5 hours at a store. Everyone's like, you got to get them out fast. Really? Because a sold walk-in wants to be there. It's not because they're waiting in finance, because we've actually moved our product we've moved our sales, like, from, we were showroom only. Now we set the rotations up in finance, and we set them up into service as well for the advisors and for the, so we can, tee up people to go into finance, and, better, more efficient ways of moving them through the dealership. But however, those sold customers still want to, if the experience is good, why do they?
Well, yeah, you're going to hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a restaurant, and it's a great experience, an amazing atmosphere. You're not dying to get the check and to get going.
And if the store is doing a good job of really making sure everything top to bottom about that vehicle, you meet all the right managers you need to meet, all the tech, how everything works, that you're driving off that lot going, oh no, I didn't know how to hook up my Bluetooth, like all the stupid little things. But, it's not the rush that everyone is sort of spouting. Like, people want to be in and out of stores in 40 minutes. Really? Which
I'm sure some people do.
Shit, yeah.
But it's not.
But the other part of that too, though, is I think some of that is some stores going, well, we don't need to test drive those people. Test drives really should, like, if a test drive's 30 minutes, or a demo drive is like from time getting the keys, like, and the smart stores too will have those cars ready to go. If they have an appointment coming in and know they're demoing going to test drive a Camry or a Rogue or whatever it is, and those cars are ready to go, you're still out there. Like, you put that time in. Like, we look at the time on ours, and the stores that use us go, our test drives have to be this long.
Yeah.
We want them in the vehicle that long. So you start to add that up. Like, it's not, someone's not in the car for 6 minutes, and the stores that go, well, we don't need to test drive them. They said they didn't want to test drive. 1%, like, we had 2.15 million opportunities.
There's going to be a few.
Walk through the store. We had 2.15 million opportunities walk through the store, and year over year, this data never changes. 1% of all those customers that walk in that don't test drive actually purchase the car.
Sure.
1%. It never changes.
Yeah.
It's like,
we
don't need to drive them. Okay, well, you're only going to sell 1% of them.
Yeah.
Like, and that's over, like, that's 2 continents and worth of data. Right?
Well, see, that process, those processes that you guys are bringing, and I'm a huge fan of you guys' tool, but I also understand that a tool is only as good as the individual ends up utilizing that tool. But the process that comes with your guys' tool, has the ability to generate a narrative that can be unique to that specific dealership.
Absolutely.
So if the narrative of the dealership wants to be time savings, well, they can utilize
Oh,
your
absolutely.
tool to do so.
Yeah.
If the narrative wants to be about transparency, then your guys' tool can create the process to make sure that it is a transparent and that we do touch all these additional points to ensure transparency.
So that that is the beauty of the software, is the pre-install, pre-training call is all about like how many reps do you want on point?
Yep.
How do you want to move them through the departments? Like all of that to what you were just saying is covered, because every single store is going to be different. Even if it's owned by a larger group and has certain processes,
sure.
Because the individuals and the different flows of traffic, heavier times, lighter times, all the, everything is different. Like a group may sort of dictate, this is how many people we want to point at that. But a highlight, but then a group with a entry level, like say they've got Hyundai, Toyota, Nissan stores, but then they've got Benz, Lexus. They've got Highline stores where
they can develop how they need to.
I think it's Mercedes-Benz Riverside. Anthony Chandler, Mercedes-Benz Riverside, California. You watch. I went there and did a video testimonial on Anthony, and he's he's a really great.
I think I remember watching.
He's a great advocate of ours, but he's got a very steady and methodical demeanor about him.
Mm-hmm.
It's very elegant, though. You know what I mean? Like he really does represent a Highline brand really well. Like
yes.
as like sort of the spokesperson for the store, as the general manager of that store, in the way he wants his salespeople to where they are when someone's walking in, where they should be, how they move them through that store. Anthony
sounds like it's running like a good high-end restaurant.
Well, yeah, he came out of Fletcher Jones, out of in California, like the #1 MB store in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the Riverside store and like blew it out of the water, because he brought it next up over there. But knowing what he has with the tool allowed him to go, here's what my choreography looks like.
Now I need to measure this.
Now I have
the effectiveness.
I know the measurement I'm going to get from the tool,
Yeah.
but this is the way I'm going to do it. And I could go from Anthony's store, and I went to Nicholas's Carton store, and I went to Puente Hills that same afternoon, and that store is just different. It's a different dance. Yeah. It's a Toyota store. It's
the dance.
busy.
Actually, I think that's the best way to describe it.
It's a dance.
It's a dance. That dance has that narrative. That's what
Mercedes-Benz Riverside. It's like this. It's a.
So is that in their marketing?
It's a cotillion. And Puente Hills and Toyota, which is a huge store. It's great. It's
a full disco.
It's like a rave, It's just like there's so much stuff going on. Like they're just like there's like people everywhere. The place is buzzing, and then you get into Mercedes-Benz Riverside. And it's just like this is a classy joint.
This is a classy joint.
Can't wreck anything. They're not going to play the buzzcocks here.
No.
So but again, that's what I mean. That's why the software plays so well to the stores, because you've got different, we built it to, accommodate and assist the most people down to the fewest, right?
Yeah.
So it can be tailored for exactly what a store wants. And I was just redoing. We did a big release, new icons, new dashboards, and new look and feel. And so we did all of this stuff. And so just even. Updating all the guidelines, PDFs that our stores can use, right? So after they get trained, like, okay, here is your rotation, no return, like all these pages and stuff. And I was kind of blown away by how much leave behind materials we have based on once that store figures out their mix of what's time on point. Once they figure out their choreography, like the materials we leave behind, going, okay, there are 3 on point, there are 1 on point, there are 45 power rotation, there are 30-minute power rotation, whatever. We've got all these variables that go into it, but that is the beauty of it is, keep your software small, keep it nimble. And I credit Clint with, he's always sort of treated himself like you've got your craft beer on the table. But he does have
that approach. Yeah.
He said that about I'm like a craft brewer. I want a small batch stuff. I don't want to do everything. Like he created the first CRM in the automotive business like 25 years ago and saw what a monster that could be, and the adoption issues that came along with it, which actually pushed him into next step.
Yeah.
Why that was so. Over the 12 years now that he's been running his company, it's like still only 20 something people, and The guys in Orange County build the tech right in house, right? Everything's in house. Everything's like locally made and locally sourced, but he doesn't try. But he doesn't try to do everything, And
No.
I start to look at other.
He's not the jack of all trades, master of nothing. He is the master of what space he wants to play.
Just coming back from NADA and seeing how often tech companies now just like everyone's digital retailing this year, or how many people now have like sort of like leaderboards or up rotations. Like we notice more people have come into the segment where we were the only one for a long time.
That's true.
And that was nice and all, but it's good to start having people in there because it actually validates the 12 years of work we've done.
No, 100%.
Yeah. No, it's good to have new blood in there, but I think the new blood too is, like I said, it's almost like the content stuff we were talking about earlier. It's easy to pivot and just spit stuff out there and a message. Well, we do this and we'll figure it out after we start signing people, or we'll figure it out after people start walking through the door of our business or ordering products from us. It's like there's this, you can put so much stuff out there so quickly and then think about it later. And I think we need to get back to let's think about it first and then put it out.
Let's define the demands. Let's create that narrative and then put it out there. So you have the opportunity to be in and out of a lot of dealerships and like myself. So do you have any maybe off the top of your head where people have really kind of adopted and developed out the processes, created that dance, written out the narrative of what that dance looks like, and then actually implement that and put that into their marketing efforts?
Yeah, I've seen it. I know, and I saw him on the weekend at NADA, like Matt Miller, Lexus of Edmonton.
Okay.
Bruce and Matt, the whole team there is that sort of one-touch mentality. And what I mean by that is, they're trying to, like, if you come in and start working, like if you walk through the doors of Lexus of Edmonton, you're working with Jason Harris. Jason is the person you're with through your whole buying experience, the after buying. Like, he's your guy.
Okay.
One dude. And I know...
that's how they market the experience.
Yeah, when we did a testimonial with Matt, like now 2 falls ago, like that's sort of when they were just starting, like they were already using Next Up because they already had this really elegant approach anyways, because, and why I bring it back to those guys, and I know they get a lot of kudos for their video work and other things like that, but what I always liked about it is the owner of that store had said to everyone, staff and vendors alike, anyone that's involved with that store from any capacity, if you see a customer walking towards the door, you are to stop what you're doing and open that up for that person. Whether you're the uniform delivery guy for the service techs, whether you're the marketing vendor, whether you're, car proof, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're on staff. You stop what you're doing and you grip the door. He has put that man. So if, Piquet from our team is out there doing a retrain, or they've got new staff up there. If John happens to be in the showroom and someone's walking towards the door, John literally stops what he's doing on, he's the next up guy, open the door for that customer. So that's that ground level going, we have to better ourselves just from that very, like, direct first impressions. The first impressions is so important because it's literally seconds for you to destroy that. So they've always done it, and Susan Gabast and the Mississauga Toyota team
done a phenomenal job.
It's always been like Susan's vision and John Hall's vision for that matter. Their vision for the store has always been to make people feel like a part of that family. It's just the way the Gabastas are. Like if you know them and you know her dad and know her brother Stephen who's in the store and John and everything. It's very close. Huggers. So I know Susan over the years has been like going, I'm trying to tell more of that story but I'm also trying to embrace digital. She was, years ago, like, so she's gotten a lot of, everyone's like, oh, Susan's and everything. But yeah, she was brave enough to try stuff when everyone else didn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't the smartest person in the room, and she'll self-admit that, but she was like, okay, friends of mine who I trust are telling me I have to start focusing this way. So I'm going to start pivoting and moving that way. And she started doing it a long time ago. So now everyone looks at Susan like, oh, how do you do it? And Susan's like, I keep learning, right?
Yes.
With what she's trying to do, though, and what they brought Next Step in for a lot of different reasons. John Hall, the GM, liked it because in a disposition with the customer, in their back and forth with the customer walking in the door or appointment, they could tie back to their marketing efforts.
Sure.
How did you come in? Oh, I got my email from Jason, So they go, yeah, Jason's email campaign that he put out for us last week is really working hard for us because we have customers in our dispositions. The guys are marking off, email campaign or whatever it is, or a private sale campaign that our agency is running for us. Or, someone saying, yeah, I saw the newspaper ad, or not that she's been in the newspaper.
No, not at all.
But whatever it's been, it's online. So John loves the connectivity of that. What Susan wanted to do was Susan liked the fact that like when Mark's, and I introduced her to Mark early on at Stringfellow, our VP of sales. Mark always has this great, it's the old Fleetwood Mac quote, "Love the one you're with."
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think it's Fleetwood Mac song, "Love the one you're with."
I think so.
But I love that, because what Mark is saying is when that customer breaks the glass, like that person on point, no phone in their hand, no staring at their computer, not wondering if the phone ringing in their office is a deal that's going to provide them more commission than the person standing in front of them. Like, love the one you're with. Give them 100% of your focus and your energy, and you're going to make their day.
For sure.
Right? And he said that. And why that resonated with Susan is because the issue that she wanted to solve was turnstiling. Right?
Yep.
So she was watching her staff move away from clients all like, that it was that.
Sure. Someone would come and walk in,
one of
and
the few
then
things,
someone would run away.
but Susan's really aware of like making sure that staff aren't walking away from people. And Michelle, I was talking about Roadster earlier. It's interesting because Michelle, the CMO from Roadster, at David Kane's event, was just talking about like basically they were measuring how many times in a visit people were actually being abandoned by the sales staff, and they were measuring it.
Oh, that's an interesting measure.
And I gave her our data, because what we show is that inside of a regular work shift, staff are only in front of a live customer for 2 hours of the day.
Yeah.
There's 5 hours where they're actually not touching a customer. And then Michelle's team dug into that 2 hours and went, now how many times in that 2 hours are they? So we gave her the benchmark data, and then they put that data against going, okay, next up tells everyone in the industry, this is how much time you're in front. Now we've measured how many times in that 2 hours that they're abandoning them to go, I'm just going to go get this for you. I'm just going to go get this. I'm just going to get this.
How much real time?
So Susan seeing that already at her place, that was that, like, as soon as she heard "love the one you're with," be with them, 100% of your energy. That's all she wants, and that's what she's trying to put into their, as you know, working with her. That's really some of their core messaging that they're putting in. It's
the narrative that we're starting to put together.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
and it's cool on the marketing side. I've had the opportunity to now work with her, and we're in the works of putting out that content, trying to create that narrative, that story. So that's what someone consumes. That's what that experience is going to be. That's what they're getting marketed that the experience is going to be. So that when they come in, it's an immediate validation.
Yeah, and I think you look down stateside, and I've had the real pleasure of building a really great friendship with Kevin Fry at the Automotive Group. And,
very smart cat.
Well, that's debatable.
Okay.
But keep that in the edit for him.
100%.
That group, though, like, you can come in being like I sell 300 cars a month for my old store.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. We're glad to have you here, but we're going to train you and get you ready to sell cars the way this group moves customers through our environments.
Yep.
Right. And it's very much that way. We've seen people that would love to work for Kevin, and like, it's not that they're bad salespeople or whatever.
No.
But it's just that personality going, you got to strip out everything you think you know. You got to, like, in some of those semblances, you got to peel everything back, get it down to bare bones, and then rebuild yourself back.
That's right. Bring it back.
We're going to beat you down. We're going to beat you down, and then we're going to build you back up.
Create it back up.
Yeah.
No, I think that totally makes sense, and that's actually a great point for us to probably stop right there and
Sure.
kind of recap that. Right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, from the operations side, there's a narrative and a story there, right? And a dance that needs to be created in that process. I love the dance concept because it totally makes sense to me, right?
Right.
And that we need that narrative not only to exist inside the physical dealership, but we need it also to be the narrative, and the marketing efforts. We don't want the narrative out here to be only just price. The message is not just the story of price.
And like we were talking earlier, in all good marketing, all good strategy starts with a brief.
Yes.
Right. So, if for those people that are listening to this, and they go, well, I don't even know what that is. Like, they can talk to you, they can talk to me. It's like, you have to start with a brief, because a good briefing document, basically all that really does is internally you spell out what the ask is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The brief just defines what the ask is. This is what we want to try to do. And then there's a series of pretty simple questions that, you as an individual can write. Like, the way I do it is I write my brief, and then I take it to the state. I say, okay, who are going to be the stakeholders on this project? Like, who asked for it? Like, so if it's my VP of sales or if it's my CEO says, this is what I want to do, that's what, if I write it on their behalf and go, okay, this is what you asked for, is this correct?
Yep.
Once you get that sign off, then you move into, okay, let's brainstorm. What are ideas around this? The thing about the brief is, through that whole dance, through all the choreography and all the narrative, you always can come back to that and go, oh, well, let's throw this idea. Well, is that on? Let's go back to the brief.
Yep.
Is it on the brief or is it off? Because that's where I think we deviate.
Well, it gives direction. You gotta have a direction.
Yeah, it keeps you for at least that one story or that one ask in that silo.
Yes.
And if you want to layer on and it doesn't fit with the brief, write a new brief on the next ask and the next idea.
Create the next one.
And build that. So everything should have sort of a just a bit of a roadmap at the start.
Yeah,
and
well,
you
stay within that structure. That gives you the place of where you're going to build your content.
And I think for a dealer out there, and like I was saying, like when I made the dealers in Jamaica write their customer experience briefs, right? If you're a dealer and you have a briefing document, and I think I wrote it about this in Auto Journal too. It's like you write a brief and an ask of your agency and hand like here's our briefing, you'll melt heads
100%.
on your vendor side, because I know for a fact that we would have to write it for them or sort of come up with that thinking. But if you're truly thinking ahead about what it is, like that's the challenge to dealers and general managers and GSMs who really, if you're gonna put your money where your mouth is, like write a brief truly about what you want. Really think about it and put it down on paper, and then have your agency partners or your strategic partners help you sort of like, fill in the blanks and massage it, and then bring it back to your team, because that process alone is going to get you more wins. Like,
100%. It will give your process direction. It will give your marketing and the narrative and the marketing direction.
The brief could be the ask is we've got to clean up our showroom coverage. Like the brief could be like the ask for how do we make showroom coverage better. The brief could be we need a Christmas email campaign. It could be big. It could be small. We need to fundamentally we need to tell a better message out there for potential employees. Like that's a big brief, right? Like
100%.
Those are different things.
Yes.
But all of those should have some sort of backbone. All of those initiatives at a dealership should have some sort of backbone that's in a document that everyone at the table goes, yep, we're all on board with that.
Yes.
Because when someone comes in and throws an idea grenade in there,
you know how those idea grenades
are. Someone went to the bathroom and came back and going, I got this great idea for what we were just talking about 3 days ago. It's like, no, it's not a brief.
That's right.
Save it for
look,
something
shiny.
yeah. But again, that's like there's something called scope creep, and it happens on everything.
100%.
Let's just add this. Let's just add that. Let's just revise this 17 times, 50 times.
Exactly.
It will scuttle things. So to wrap it, it's. Bill Playford says it best. Be honest about your data. And I think you should be honest about your data first. Look at what's happening in your store, and then look where the gaps are, right?
Yep.
Like, okay, well, we've got so much data, but what are we missing? Process and accountability fills up the gaps.
Yes.
Right? So it's okay to look at your data, and if it's going to suck, it's okay, because you can always make it better.
That's true.
Right? And that's the most hilarious thing. And I said, and I fucking tell the story every time. I'm like, said it at Driving Sales 2 years ago. Why don't we like reporting and analytics? And one dealer that was sitting right up at the front of the room, under his breath, said, because it makes us accountable.
Of course it does. Hey, Brent, I really appreciate you taking the time and coming to see me after hours. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
The content, I think, was very, very rich. I think there's a lot of value there for management and ownership, and including vendors as well. I think just everybody can collectively.
We all can do that. It's not. It's. I never want to be someone up in front of a group of people saying you have to do this, because I won't spit it out on them unless I'm trying to do it myself. Right.
Yep.
And the things I actually do for my own organization, because we're,
and that's why you're a true practitioner. You really are,
Mm-hmm.
And I know I can give you a compliment, just accept it. Hey, for all the people out there that would love to connect with you, what's the best way for someone to connect with Brent Wees?
Best way to connect with me, of course, on LinkedIn. You can connect with me and put me into your LinkedIn peer network, whatever that's cool. Don't friend me on Facebook, please. Just don't.
There's a bunch of people that are now going to go.
I know. I'm going to friend you on Facebook. No, you're not. You'll never see any of my posts. But that's it. I like using LinkedIn for professional stuff. But Bwees, BWEES at thenextstep.com is my email that you can get a hold of me anytime. So hit me up on LinkedIn, hit me up at that email address. I'm always available and happy to help folks out and help them figure out ways to improve process and accountability in one facet or another, either through the software we build or my acumen just from years of being in the insanity of running my own advertising agency and having all the different kinds of clients we had. So happy to help. But those are the two best ways.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man. I really, really appreciate you coming out. It was great.
It was awesome. Thank you.